Yeah, it wants me. All right, we're live. And I don't see any viewers quite yet. All right. All right. It said 3 watching, 2. All right, we got a few viewers. Welcome if you're joining us. We'll wait another couple minutes to see if we'll have a few people join us. If you'd like to interact with us and you're watching on the city, you can just comment below right on the topic. If you clicked through to YouTube, you can log in, and on the right-hand side, you can use the live chat, and we will interact with you either way. We may not pause right in the middle to answer your questions, but we'll definitely answer questions at the end. But we're going to wait and just see if we have a few more people join us. But thanks for coming online. All right, and if you are joining us and you want to just type your name in the chat on the side, or type your name in the comments at the bottom of the city post, then we can see who's on with us. So if you're on, go ahead and type your name in either the live chat if you're watching on YouTube, or in the comments below the video on the city page. And we'll see who we have on, and we'll answer questions and be able to interact with you that way as well. All right, I see Pastor Dan's on, and I've got a couple other people listed as anonymous right now watching us. All right, well, welcome. We're going to get started. Once again, I know for those who've been on the last minute or two, I've already said this, but just repeat it one more time for those that just joined us. We have 2 ways you can interact with us. One, if you're on the city, you can just comment below the video on the post. You'll see some comments from yesterday's broadcast that we did, training that we did. And if you're on YouTube, if you click through to YouTube, you can chat just to the right of the screen. There's a chat screen. You can ask us questions there. So I'm joined by June Mickens. June, you want to welcome people? And
hi, everybody. Pastor Jarrett was not giving you the royal we. There really were 2 of us on the line.
Yep. So you'll see June's face when she's talking, or my face when I'm talking, if there's not a presentation up on the screen. But we're so glad you're joining us. We're going to talk you through this process. It's not real complicated, but there's a lot of information to it, and so we thought it'd be worth talking you through it. And so we're going to start that now. And we're just excited to have this new event process, and it's going to be helpful to you as the user, is what we hope. It's going to make an easier process for you to reserve rooms and run events and have access to everything you need for events. And it's going to be helpful on our side to provide you with what you need so that you can have excellent events. And so we'll talk you through this. But really, the purpose behind this new process and is to really coordinate events. Is one of the reasons we want to work together better than we already are. And so our church is growing. We're adding a new campus. We've got 80-some ministries. If we can coordinate things better together, we can maximize the building that we have, the people resources that we have, and the physical resources, tables, chairs, presentation things, even copy machines, stuff like that. We can maximize and coordinate on all those things where if we have events that conflict, maybe it's hard to promote or hard to have those events grow. Because you're competing against the events at your own church for the same people. But there's also events that we could line up that could work together. And so maybe we could grow. And a lot of Wednesday Night Alive, I think the success there is because we have stuff for children going on at the same time that we have stuff for middle and high school students going on at the same time we have stuff for parents. And so that coordinated, oh, I'm skipping way ahead. That coordinated a lot for us. And so I think that was part of it. And we can do that more if we have a process that will help us plan ahead And so that's part of what this does. And like I said, that part of it is also the stewardship of our resources. There's so much that we have that God's given us. How do we use it the best that we can? And we also want to provide a consistent quality process all the way through. There's different ways that you book rooms, or there's different ways that you access different resources, but just one way that's consistent, that you know what it is. And so that there's no confusion about any of that. And so that's some of what we want to do through this process that we're going to go through. And today's agenda, we're going to talk about this pilot, this test that we're going to run over the summer, the goal, the approach, who the participants are, and the schedule for it. And then at the end, we'll take questions and answers. And so there's 5, as we were thinking about events, there's 5 things we want every event at Bridgeway to be. We want every event to be welcoming. We want it to be a place where people can walk in and feel at home. And so we'll provide resources that will help you with that. We want them to be excellent. We want there to be a standard for all Bridgeway events, that there's a certain quality. When you go to a Bridgeway event, no matter what ministry is of our 80-some ministries, there's an excellence to it. That they're well organized. Sometimes disorganization can distract from the purpose of an event. So we want to help you plan ahead, be organized, and so your event is a quality, like we said, excellent event, but there's no distractions on the organizational end to distract people from the purpose or what you're trying to communicate and teach through your event. We want it to be multicultural. We want to reflect the body that's here at Bridgeway. We want to reflect that heavenly choir as well, that we reflect those different cultures that are part of our church, part of our community, and will be part of the body in heaven one day. And we also want it to be intentional. We want your events to have a purpose, and not just any purpose. We want it to have a purpose that fits the mission of your ministry, and your ministry mission should fit in the context of the church mission as well. So does your event that you want to hold carry out the purpose of your ministry and the purpose of the church, and how does that happen? So we want to help ensure that as well. So those are our 5 core standards: welcoming, excellent, organized, multicultural, and intentional. And I'll turn over to June to talk with you a little bit about some of the timing of this.
Good. Thank you, Pastor Jarrett. Note that one of the challenges we have had in meeting those 5 core standards is ensuring that there's adequate time to plan effectively. So in order to do that, we've built in some guidelines around the timing of events so that we will have the time necessary. As you see on the screen, for a multi-day event, we're really thinking that people should begin their planning a year before the event. The Global Leadership Summit is a perfect example. You can't begin planning that 2-day event now on June 2nd. It really is something that you begin planning in August for the next August. So a year before a multi-day event, roughly 6 months before a full day, 4 months or so before a half-day event or a public event that is expected to have an audience of more than 200. 3 months before an hourly event, and as early as possible for those small meetings where it may just be your ministry and you need a room and a setup, or of course for funerals. We really can't plan when somebody's going to die, so that's an ASAP. An ASAP usually means at least 2 to 4 days ahead. Next slide. Okay, so in order to think about events in a holistic way, a 16-step process has been created. And I want to walk you quickly through those 16 steps. It's not terribly intricate, but we've broken the thinking about the process down so that people are able to look at step by step. Let's go to step 1. Step 1 really is to read the events guide. A nice, succinct guide has been developed that gives you these steps as well as resources. And step 1 is always go to the guide. The guide will be accessible in the lead group that's on the city and also on the leaders intranet. Step 2 is to, as you're thinking about having an event, if you are in one of the sponsoring ministries, so your ministry is going to have an event, answer some questions to define your event. What is the event you'd like to have? Why are you holding it? Remember, of the 5 standards, purpose that goes to the intentionality goal. Who is your audience for the event? When would you like to have it? Where would you like to have it? What's the best kind of location for that event to take place? And so you're thinking about how many people are going to be there and what kind of activity is going to be involved. So for instance, there won't be paintball or slime that the kids might have in the main auditorium. That's just not going to happen. So it's thinking about all of the event and putting some parameters around it. That takes us to step 3, which is it's going to be important to get the blessing of the ministry leader or the staff member who is responsible for that ministry before you formally enter the event process. So clear the event and the details with the ministry leader, ministry director, or Bridgeway staff person. And then step 4 is when you officially enter the event request into the booking system. And I will pass it back to Pastor Jared, who's going to give you a high-level view of the online registration system.
All right, I'm going to talk you through a little bit of the form that you're going to use to fill out. And a lot of it, we hope, is self-explanatory, but there's some questions that might cause you to get hung up a little bit. And so I just want to talk through and take a look at this form and how you use it. So this is the form that you'll fill out. You start out with your email address. It reviews what the guide is for, that we're looking for events that are welcoming, excellent, organized, multicultural, and intentional. And then the first thing it really gives you is this link here, which at some point in the next month, we're probably going to be fading away the way that you book events on ACS and going solely to this. Right now, we're kind of in a transition period. But this link here will take you to the calendar. So we're still going to use the ACS calendar. We're still going to use ACS to manage the facilities. We're just going to manage it on our end, not on the requesting end. And so this is the spot where you'd look at the calendar and say, is the space I want available when I want it? And so we want people to always do that first. That saves a lot of time for us processing an event and then realizing, oh, they've requested a spot that's already taken. There's also reminders here of the event timing that we really want people to use. June already went over that. So that after your email address is in there, the first thing you're going to do is say, I'm requesting an event. For approvers, which I see that Amy Sims is on and Pastor Dan is on, there's a short video that I'll send out later that'll give you, explain how you approve events. But Ray Lewis is going to request an event for the football ministry. And then down here at the bottom, we want you to choose who you report to. So I'm going to put myself just so I can approve this event later. And I'm going to click next. This is your event name. So let's say, just for fun, so it's NFL playoffs, and this is your event description. So this is the public description that people will see when they click on your event on the Bridgeway calendar and other places. So you want to describe what your event is. And then below it is the purpose that we've been talking about. So this is your church purpose. What is the purpose that this event fulfills within your ministry and with the greater church as well? So, you know, why are you going to this football game? So this could be for... I'm going to keep my answers short. Your answers obviously could be a lot longer than that, but that's your purpose, and you describe it there. And all this information is going to be passed along to your supervisor in most cases to take a look at. And so that's why it's important to provide good information there. When would you like it to take place? So we'll say football season's in the fall. So we'll say, just pick a random date in the fall. And so this is just like you would have for any other event, filling out the time. But down below here, we have a setup start time and a cleanup stop time. So the times above are the times that your event's actually going to run. The times below is the window that you want to use the room. And so we would set up, I'm going to say we're going to set up an hour ahead, and we're going to clean up an hour after. So in our current system, this really isn't accounted for unless you email us separately, and this will give us all the information we need in one place to reserve the room for the right amount of time. You're going to choose your audience, and there's a few different options here. General public is anyone. There's a few things we do that are partners only, so that won't be used a whole lot by everyone, but a few times. Bridgeway attendees, so is it for people that already attend Bridgeway, or someone within your ministry. In this case, we did a made-up ministry called the football ministry, and we're going to say, okay, it's just for that ministry, people that are already in the ministry. And then how many people are you expecting? We're going to say 50. And then we get to the type of events that you're going to have. And there's 4 different type of on-campus events, and then there's 1 off-campus event. The no frills event is best for small team meetings that basically you can walk in a room and the room's set as it is. A lot of these will be done in the ministry center, and you really don't need much besides a space. And so you'd check that. And for that, there's not much of an approval process. It happens quick. It's fairly easy. And as you can see from the schedule above, we had talked about it requires the least amount of time in advance to know about. And then next is basic, and this might require just some basic things that we have in a lot of rooms already anyway. Whiteboard, audiovisual stuff, stools, etc. So you could check that. Deluxe is stuff that has a little bit higher level of activity to it or may require multiple rooms. So this will require more coordination for us. And so that's that level. And then premium requires staff to be involved, especially technical staff to be involved, whether it's in the theater or whether you want to use the big room at Nexus with tech, or if you're using multiple buildings. That's kind of the premium level. So for this event, I'm going to choose Deluxe, and we're going to go on to the next page. And so then I've got an option to share the preference of where I want the events, this event to take place. And I'd like to do this party in Nexus, so I'm going to check that. Now, this doesn't necessarily guarantee the room. If we find out that there's a couple people competing for that room, we're going to determine which ministry would best fit there, and if we have a spot for other ministries to fit, and we'll make adjustments as necessary along the way. And this is an event that repeats, so I'll check it doesn't repeat. If it did repeat, you could say how often it repeats right there. Here's door release times, which currently isn't built into our system. We've kind of added it in the comments sometimes, or we get emails later. But once again, it's going to provide us all the information on your event right here. I'm going to, just to move through our form, check no, so I don't have to fill out. If you have more than 20 people, we're going to want some sort of door release for you, and so you can include that there. You know, what are we going to use? We're going to need audio visual so we can watch the game, and that's just to make sure we get you in the right room with that stuff. And then what kind of chairs or seating do you want? We want round tables and chairs. And this doesn't mean it's going to be automatically set up for you. If you have a large event, there may be an opportunity for us to have some setup done for you. But for most of our regular ministry events, for now anyway, it's going to continue to be used. But we need to make sure we have enough round tables and chairs for all the events. Because if we have events in every room, we don't have enough chairs and tables for all those events. And so this will just help us keep track of what we need for what event. And then we're getting to the end here, and it just asks about registration. Do you want people to register for the event? Do we want to know ahead of time? For this event, probably not, but if you want to do a registration ahead, you can choose that. And then do you want to charge for the event? We're not going to charge. This is going to be a free. But once again, if you do charge, this information is going to be passed along to your supervisor. They're aware of your budget, and so they'll be able to make an approval call, also looking at the money, not just at the time and the purpose of your event, but on that as well. Click here to say I'm not a robot, submit, and you're done. You'll get an email once this has gone through just to let you know here's what you submitted. And then as it gets approved, you'll get an email that says your event has been approved. If you want to submit another form, it's right there. You can submit another event and do multiple events at once. If you have a reoccurring monthly event, like the Women's has a monthly Bible study every month, you can fill out one of the forms and just say that it's repeating, so you don't have to fill out a new form for each month of the same event. And so, June, that's going to turn it back over to you to continue sharing through the various steps.
Great, thank you. So we talked about approval. Let's get you into the mind of the approver for just a moment, whether that is your ministry leader to start with or the events team down the line. So let's talk about the approval request. The team is going to be looking at the following kinds of information. First, is the event one that meets those Bridgeway standards that we talked about earlier? Is it welcoming? Is it going to be excellent, organized, multicultural, intentional, etc.? Is there space available for the requested period, including the setup and cleanup times that we talked about? One of the challenges in the past is it looks as if a room is available, but that's not always the case because the group that was in it before is still in the process of cleaning up. So there's a little bit of challenge between getting into a room and leaving a room. So is the space available for the requested times? Are the resources available for the event that you're attempting to have? Is there the appropriate tech support? If you've got an event that the general public will be attending, do you have ushers and greeters and frontline and first wave people, for instance? So we're looking at resources and how those are being used as well. Are there competing or complementary events during the same time frame? Is there already an event booked that is pulling from the same audience? If so, then maybe there needs to be an adjustment in when your meeting is going to be held. Or is there an event like Pastor Jared was mentioning earlier with Wednesday Night Alive, where you can bring the youngsters and their parents in at the same time and maximize the building and the resources because you've got everybody in the same place at the same time? So that is another concern. And finally, is there a price for the event? Especially events that are going to require additional resources, there may need to be a price set either coming out of the sponsoring group's budget or from the ticket sales in order to cover not only what you're trying to gain from the event, but also the cost to host it. So that's step 5 and the request. Step 6 is actually to make the decision. So the decision will be communicated to the sponsoring ministry, whether it is approved, and the price that is communicated, even if that price is 0, is copacetic with everybody. The answer may be that the request is good, but there's a minor adjustment that needs to be made, either in terms of the date or the time because of something else that may be going on. Or the request may be denied because for some reason the event that's being proposed is not one that really fits into the mission of the church as a whole. Step 7 is the beginning of a new piece to this process, which is the introduction of the ministry that's having the event to a Bridgeway event associate. We're developing a team of people who are going to be point people for the event ministry. Every event will have an event associate assigned to it. And that will be a person who assists you in getting to the facility related resources that you need in order to host your event. So that's step 7. When the associate is named for your event, that associate will communicate with someone from your ministry, whom we're calling the ministry liaison, in order to confirm the facility and resource needs and offer their support. The associate is there to assist the ministry in producing an event that meets the criteria we talked about before. That person, that associate, is not there to run or design or plan your event for you, but to assist you to ensure that everybody is getting the support they need in order to put on a helpful and excellent event. Step 9 is that the associate and the ministry liaison will arrive at a workable event plan. That is, looking at the resources that will be needed, whether that is space or tables or chairs or people, like tech support and the like, in order to put together an event plan and arrive at a price for the event if that is appropriate. Step 10 is that the associate will support the ministry liaison to carry out the event plan, ensuring that timelines are met and resource contacts are made. For step 11, we begin getting the finance office involved, or the ministry itself, if it's writing its own checks and paying its own bills. We want to be sure that purchase orders are submitted for the expenses that are required 30 days before a multi-day event or full day or half-day event, at least 14 days before those hourly events. The goal is to ensure that vendors are being paid on time. And again, we want to guard the church's reputation in the community as an entity that pays its bills in a timely manner. Step 12 is roughly a week before that full day or multi-day event. We want the associate and the ministry liaison to do either a walkthrough or a talk-through of the event. That's to ensure that last-minute I's are dotted and T's are crossed in terms of being sure that the resources are in place, people are notified, so that you'll be able to sponsor the event and have it run smoothly. Step 13 is actually to have that plan go into action. Setup occurs, the event runs, the cleanup plan is implemented, and you have a successful event. It doesn't end with the final goodbye of folks on event day. We want to be sure with step 14 that ministry leaders, liaisons, and event associates are completing evaluations. Evaluation is an important component so that we can determine how this process is working, where additional support and/or training may be needed for the associates, for sponsoring ministries, for our event liaisons, or for our resources. And we also want to be sure that additional resource investments can be made if required to carry out the volume and the types of events that we're hosting here at Bridgeway. Step 15 is our closeout. So the finance office will work with each sponsoring ministry to pay the invoices and close out the event. And then that takes us to the final step in the process, which is step 16. And that's to come back with the events and logistics pastor, the associates, and Bridgeway related resources periodically to sit down and talk about the events that have been occurring, debrief, so that we can continue improving and planning effectively for the future. So that's the process in a nutshell. Let's take just a minute to talk about the people who are going to be involved. We've mentioned many of these names, or the names of roles as we've talked, but let me tell you who they are. So every in-house event is going to come through a Bridgeway ministry. The ministry leader will need to be involved for either initiating or at a minimum approving the event concept. Additionally, the ministry also should designate one person as the ministry event liaison. Now that may be for all events that ministry has, or you may decide you're going to choose one liaison for each event. That's up to you as a ministry, but essentially, the ministry event liaison is the point person from the ministry for this process. Others may be involved and likely will be involved in producing any event, but this is the point of contact for the Bridgeway event team's purposes. Now, we've been talking about this largely from the internal perspective, an event that's being hosted by a ministry. We're not forgetting that we often do have events here at the church from external groups. And we will be looking for those organizations also to designate an organizational point of contact for us. But that's our points of contact. The next person in this process is the events pastor. Ultimately, and that's Pastor Jarrett, ultimately, Pastor Jarrett is responsible for the entire process. He oversees the process, the selection and work of those carrying it out, the high level approval of events, and the resource utilization. He'll be negotiating contracts where that's appropriate, and also dealing with the ongoing evaluation of the process in how it's being executed and the results that it's achieving. Next on the list is an event scheduler. This is the person who, when an event comes in, goes to the church-wide calendar and the online booking system to look and see if that proposed event, its date, its time, its location, work in light of everything else that's happening in the life of our busy church. Next is the events coordinator. This person is really akin to a charge nurse in a hospital setting. So when an event is approved, this person is going to be matching the event to the right event associate. So the coordinator is going to be assigning those associates who will be working with you to put on your events. The person is training and supporting the work of the associates, meeting with them periodically to build into them, understanding what they're seeing in terms of trends and needs, coordinating with resources to ensure that our Bridgeway resources are being heard and we're being responsive and attentive to their overall availability and their requirements, and also lobbying for process and or resource changes in light of the circumstances. Next, we have the events associate. In many respects, this person is the new hub in the process that you'll see from an outward perspective. The associate, again, does not plan the event for your ministry. The associate is the ministry liaisons or the outside organization's liaisons, centralized point of contact for the church. So instead of that outside person or that ministry person having to try to figure out who does what around here, which can be daunting sometimes, that liaison will work with and through the events associate based on the event plan that the two of you put together in order to secure the space and the facility related resources needed to host a successful event. And before we change the slide, that event associate will be working with a range of Bridgeway administrative, facilities, technical, and other team members whose skills are essential to plan for and carry out any event that takes place on campus. And I think, Pastor Jared, it's back to you.
Yeah, so we're working on piloting this event starting yesterday when we did our first training through the middle of July. We're going to test this. And so we want you to get on in just a little while. I'm going to put the user's guide out on the city to you, and we're going to get it up on the leaders intranet as well so that you can access that and also have access to the link to the form that I showed you earlier. So if you have events this summer that have not yet been approved, we want you to go ahead and put those on through the system that we have. We want to test it. Even yesterday in our webinar, we learned something new and made an adjustment to the form. So also give us feedback during this time. Hey, this worked well, this didn't work well. Yesterday we added that off-site option in a different location so that it was easier to access. And so different things like that we can improve. So please let us know that during the pilot period. We're meeting with event associates. We've already met with them once. We're meeting with them again June 11th to make sure they're equipped to work with ministries. So after that date, we'll be assigning them to different events to help them walk through, and they'll have continued training as well. We're going to debrief and make any changes mid-July, and then come the beginning of August, we'll be ready for an ongoing system that'll be coming out. And I'll turn it back to you, June.
Okay. So just before we wrap up, let me tell you next steps. First is if you are representing a ministry that may be sponsoring events this summer, What do you need to do? Please examine your summer event calendar. Anything happening over the summer should go through this new process. So again, take a few minutes now to look at your events calendar to see what you need to push through in this new system. The next step is, if you are a sponsoring ministry, please select a ministry liaison for each of the summer events you're going to be having. This will be the point person from your ministry for each event. But I also recognize that some of you on the line may not be in a ministry sponsoring events. You may be a part of our resource ministries. So if you will go to the next slide, please. If you're in a resource ministry, like facilities or CAM, for instance, select the person that you want to serve as the point of contact from your group. That's the person that the event associates will touch base with first, or the person to whom they will direct ministry liaisons regarding upcoming events. Now, again, that won't be the only person who may be a part of providing service in the event, but we're looking for a single point of contact. And then finally, read the guide. It will be out and available to you very soon, but that really will help you plan and execute each event. And I think that takes us to questions.
All right, we're to the point where we can answer any questions that you might have. So I see we have several people on, both on the city and directly on YouTube. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and type those now, and we'll respond to those. And if we don't see any over next 30 seconds or so, we'll sign off and pass this along. And I'll post it on the city, the video, and so you can watch it again. You can share it with other people. We hope a lot of other ministry leaders will be watching it as well. So you can ask questions then, even after it's not live, and we can get back with you to give you the answers that you need. So I am not seeing any new questions. So I'll just give a few more seconds. All right, well, for those of you that are watching, we thank you for watching this live. I know it was probably not the most exciting event you've watched live, but thanks for watching. We're glad you were with us. And like I said, we want your feedback on this new process as you're using it. And so later today, I will be posting on the city where you can access the link, the video, and the event guide. So thanks so much for watching, and we're going to sign off. See ya.
Thanks, everybody.